Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship here on Apex Racing TV. My name is Ron Mullins. Joining me in the commentary booth is Aaron Smith, and in the virtual production hall we have our old buddy Josh Wilkie. It's round 2 of the season, coming to you live from Silverstone. It's a track that I had outlined heading into the season as one that I would expect some really good racing to come from. I may be opening the door for some British nationalism here, but I'll pass this off to you, Aaron. What are you just as excited as I am for tonight's action, or are you a little bit skeptical about the action we're going to see here tonight?
I think it's going to be terrible. No. But like I'm not actually that big a fan of Silverstone, really. But the only time I do like it is in the slower classes like Formula 4. That's when it's like, okay, yeah, this is a really fun track. But I just feel like, especially when you drive it in like an F1 car or a GTP, yeah, it can. I don't know. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite British track. That honor goes to Brands Hatch. That's definitely a track we should be visiting in Formula 4 at some point. That would be the dream. But I mean, yeah, we're going to get some good racing. This track is good for those slower formulas, and it's going to be a slipstream fest today. And qualifying is going to be the same. It's just going to be people trying to get the slipstream. It's probably worth about, I'd say, half a second if you can get it absolutely perfectly around here. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of people resetting, getting in the tow, and we're going to see a bit of teamwork in the qualifying session as well. And then during the race, you'll see those huge gaps forming between the different groups. You'll have, like, I don't know, the top 5 or 6 quickest drivers, and then you'll just have everyone else fighting for those last few spots to get into the A final.
I mentioned there, had some glancing mentions about the A final there, and you also mentioned qualifying and the little bit of a game that we have here when it comes to trying to be in that slipstream, going down those long straightaways, trying to get the tires up to temperatures. We're seeing some massive weaving from all these drivers that's trying to get their tires cooked up and in the right operating window. But it's that small little mix there between not being in the not being too close to the car in front going through the corners, because even though the front and rear wings on these cars are basically wood planks. They do create just a tiny bit of turbulence behind these race cars, so you don't want to have that dirty air going through the corners, but you do want to have that massive slipstream, which I think is going to decide really all of these races, whether it be the heat races we have coming up, whether it be this qualifying session as well, or whether it be the A or B final that we have here coming up later on tonight. Now, once again, I think we should probably go through and remind the viewers what kind of format we use here in this series. We have a 10-minute qualifying session that we're in right now. Then we have the field that's split into 2 heat races, where the top 8 finishers from those heat races lock themselves into the A main show later on tonight, and then the rest are bumped down to the B main race, where the top 4 finishers will punch their ticket into the final race. Over 40 drivers are going to be whittled to just about to just 20, so it's going to be really exciting, and that could be the reason why we saw some pretty hard racing last time out in Jerez. Another reason why we saw some hard racing: the prizes for these champions in the Pro-Am, and Am categories at season's end. 650 pounds worth of Apex Racing Academy subscriptions are up for grabs for the drivers. Now, considering we have viewers from all across the world that are tuning into these broadcasts here on Apex Racing TV, we always undertake the arduous minute-and-a-half long task to write down some currency conversions for all of you to read during this broadcast. So that 650 pounds is about $824 or about 10 gallons of gas in the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California. For those in the European Union, it is about 759 euros. And lastly, the prizes on offer are worth a grand total of 2,070,809 Tanzanian shillings. So, Aaron, whilst I've been running my mouth talking about the Tanzanian shillings, what's been going on this qualifying session?
I mean, if anything, I'm more curious why you went for Tanzania of all the countries to choose their currency for, but fair enough. I mean, at the moment, there's not really much going on in this qualifying session. We're just waiting for those first few laps to come on the board, and this is just going to be people trying to get the edge on each other, and it's a fairly long lap round here as well, about just over 2 minutes in these Formula 4 cars. So honestly, every driver's probably going to get 3 good laps at most. 1 lap should be good enough for a warm-up. They definitely will not be doing more than that. But yeah, we're going to see probably a big spread in the field, but honestly, I don't think qualifying is going to matter a huge amount, considering just how easy it is to overtake around here in these cars. And well, this track can also cause a bit of first lap chaos as well. We might see a big pile up at some point, but here's hoping we can have some clean racing. But yeah, qualifying, I wouldn't worry too much, but I mean, you just get bragging rights for pole, don't you?
Yeah, I think the pole position is definitely more bragging rights than anything else, really. As you said, so many overtaking opportunities for these drivers here in the races that we have here tonight, that pole position really isn't going to mean anything about 4 laps into this race. So I got to imagine that all these drivers are mainly just setting themselves up, getting a grips to how their cars are handling. They had a massive, very long practice session to try and get a grips with their race cars, but qualifying is a whole different story. So right now it is it's actually a new name, I believe, to the series. Wellen there at the top of the running order, the driver from Finland, at a 2-minute 0.6. So we are halfway through this qualifying session, and we neglected to mention this earlier. These qualifying sessions, considering there's so many cars here at this track, and even though this track is a lot longer than we had last time at in Jerez, they still split up the qualifying order into 2 groups. You have one group, the first half of the cars racing, well, driving around the track in the qualifying session in the first 5 minutes, and then you have the rest of the cars join those competitors in the second half. So this is going to be the crunch time for all these drivers trying to set in their really quick lap times. You can see the speeds going down the hangar straightaway, about to enter this very, very hard corner, which, even though it's a pretty fast corner in these Formula 4 cars, fast in pretty much all kinds of race cars, regardless of what's racing around this track, that's still going to be a pretty good overtaking opportunity. I think there's plenty of chances for these drivers to get past each other. So, Aaron, what do you think would be the overtaking opportunity and corner that you use the most if you're one of these drivers here on track?
I think you were spot on. I think Stowe is definitely going to be the best opportunity around here. You've got, these cars, of course, not having much aero. You can very easily follow each other through Maggots and Beckett's. It's still a bit of a challenge, but if you can just stay perfectly well within the same gap through those corners and get a good run onto the hangar straight, you'll be right as rain. So Yeah, Stowe is definitely going to be where we're going to see most overtakes. Probably a lot of three wides. I think the thing that comes to mind was BISCC about a couple months ago. That was, yeah, interesting to say the least in those little global Mazda MX-5 Cup cars. And of course, these cars cannot take nearly as much brutality as those, but we'll still see some will-to-will action, hopefully, going through Stowe. And other opportunities as well coming into Cops, of course. It's risky, but can get it done in these sorts of cars. And I don't think we'll see too many overtakes into this corner now into turn 3. It's just way too difficult to go side by side through there. But you know, I have the feeling some of these drivers are going to be a bit ballsy. They're going to go for these moves, and of course, the 2 heats only 10 minutes long, which is only going to be what 4 or 5 laps around here. So not many opportunities to get up into those top 8 positions, and we definitely will see some drivers taking more risks than they probably should.
I can just already imagine drivers going side by side, going through Maggots, Beckett's, and even Chapel going onto that hangar straight away. I can just picture it in my head because we saw that a lot in the MX-5 race that you mentioned there a few months ago here on Apex Racing TV. The qualifying is winding down right now, 8.5 minutes in, and it's still well in at the top of the running order. A pretty good lap there from Heldorn to actually move into P2. He is at the top of the Pro-Am drivers right now, just 0.112 seconds right behind Welland there, so pretty close field in the top 10. You can see the top 10 drivers right now separated by 0.677 of a second, so not a whole lot of time separating all these drivers all throughout the field. It's still maybe a little bit spread, as you can see Adrian Sens bailing out on that qualifying lap. I think he got a little bit squirrely heading into turn 1. You mentioned Arena there going through turns 3, 4, and 5, and I think I can already imagine we're going to see a lot of chaos there. I think we're going to see plenty of accidents, especially on the opening laps of these races when the field is just so jam-packed together. That's going to be a real trouble spot for all these drivers. I think all the slow corners, really, whether it be the arena section that I just mentioned, or whether it be the final section heading through Vale, going through turns 16, 17, and even 18 for that matter. I think those are going to be the sections where these drivers make a little bit of contact. But is there any other corners that I'm missing here, Aaron? Do you think there's going to be other sections where these drivers are really going to be in bang with each other?
Nope. Got it spot on.
Fair enough. I thought you were going to mention. I thought you were going to try and go for. Let me blow up my track map here. Luffield. There we go. You can tell I'm great with my British track corner names. I'm an American. I have an excuse for this. Okay, so qualifying has now officially wrapped up. The 10 minutes has expired here in this qualifying session. We're going to get the starting grid here for the first heat race here in just a few moments' time. And it's going to be Welland taking the pole position for that first heat race. Virgin in second. Adrian Sins in third. Centurk, who is a standout star at Jerez, he will be starting this race in fourth. Jones in fifth. Johnson in sixth. One of the championship favorites entering the season Apex Racing Academy zone. That's going to be Lewis Gordon in sixth. Michelson in eighth. And that's going to be Run in ninth. And Jay Walsh running at your top 10. We'll go through the rest of the grid here. Both not a whole lot of time until these drivers take the lights out here in this race. We'll just go through real quick and only mention the top 10 because we were doing that at Jerez, and I blew out my vocal. Well, I didn't blow out my vocal cords, but I kind of ran that starting grid a little bit long so you can see 17 drivers in this first heat race. Lewin Holtz starting there at the tail end of the field. Not a very impressive qualifying performance for the Brazilian, but he'll definitely try and make up some positions here in the actual first heat race here. As I said, the top 8 finishers from these heat races will move on to the A final to really battle for the win there later on this evening. So this is going to be really important to try and maintain in that slipstream, really not be at the front, especially going on to the hangar straight away for the final time. We saw it earlier this week in the Ray Esports series. Just a little bit of bad timing with the slipstream really played havoc with those drivers, even though they're running in the Spec Racer Fords, which are nothing like these Formula Fords, but they do share actually, no, not Formula Fords, the Formula 4s. There you go. My apologies for my dyslexia there. But still, these cars are really, really reliant on that slipstream. So I think that's going to play a massive role in this race. As well, keeping it clean, we're going to wait for some of the drivers to line up here on the starting grid. A beautiful aerial view of Silverstone, a very beautiful track here in the UK, one of my favorites in the world of sim racing, and even back on the F1 games, back by Codemasters back in the day. It was always a fun track for me. So the lights are going to come at in a few moments time. It's going to be a very short run until they hit turn 1. Hopefully we don't have any chaos in the opening laps. The 5 lights are going to go out and the drivers are going to be on their way. As I said, a short run heading into turn 1. Looks like a pretty good pretty good start there from your pulsator. He actually blinks a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't have too many connection issues between now and the end of the race. That would be very unfortunate for your pulsator, but so far these drivers are making it through fairly cleanly. We're going to see if these drivers try to do anything going through the arena section, which, as we said earlier on, may be a tricky spot for all these drivers. I think they've made it through clean thus far, but this is going to be the real challenging test heading through turn 3 the first time. Oh, we got a spinner farther up the road. There's contact. Cars hopping all over the place. I see some front and rear wings scattering around this racetrack. Be very careful. That Lewin Holt, I believe, we're riding on board with. He was very lucky that he didn't get clipped by the car that had that missing rear wing heading through turn 5. I was fully expecting that car to go spinning like a top and then hit that car, but surprisingly for Holt, he keeps it clean, but fairly rough start for some of these drivers here so far.
I think it was Jay Walsh who was one of the cars who was caught up in that initial accident and just lighting up those rear tyres a bit too early, just a few corners too early on this first lap. Of course, those tyres are cold and not up to temperature, and just went a bit too ugly early. Low speed, kind of understandable, and unlucky for him. And Gordon and Small also ending up in the pit lane as well. Jay Walsh is limping back to the pits. But so this is a surprisingly calm first lap from the top 10, to be honest. We've only had a few places shuffle, although Axel Guzelman has made up 4 places already, so he is going well. There was a spinner in the background, I believe, going through Maxim Beckett's. I think that was Plastow. And we're going to take a quick replay, and
Walsh.
This is Jay Walsh.
We can see him crabbing heading into the corner. A lot more damage on that car. Yep.
Yeah, that's what happens on lap 1 when you make contact that easily, and this is what happened to Plastow side by side, and just a bit of contact. There was two cars involved there. Just again, lap 1 going a bit too aggressive, and well, that's what can happen. And we've already had 4 or 5 cars involved in incidents, and yeah, they're pretty much out of the running for the top 8 spots now. It's basically just the top, I'd say 11 in it now. Pollard as well has dropped back quite a lot. Johnson goes into 4th place. There's a lockup as well from, I think that was Milkingson, Russon as well behind, just following him through. And like I said, it's been actually a fairly calm first lap for these guys, but at the back it's been slightly more chaotic, and it might be about to change going into Luffield, but let's hope they can all just keep it on the road.
Well, the drivers up towards the front running in the pro category. You can see the top 6 right now running in that pro class. They all have a lot of experience in the world of sim racing, and they heed the warnings that we mentioned at the start of this broadcast, that at a track like this, very twisty, very technical, with very cold tires and a very little amount of downforce here in these Formula 4s, it's not the best and smartest decision to try and race really hard in the opening stages of this race. But I think probably when they start lap 3 in just a few moments time, that'll be when they start to turn up the wick and start to race each other a little bit harder. We may see some battling here between Wellen, who, as I said, is a newcomer here to the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship. He actually has a 5.6 KI rating, so it's one of the highest in the field, and he is proving that skill and flexing his muscles right now, leading currently over your reigning ARA F4 champion. That's Bergson there, the Swedish driver, running in P2, running in that slipstream of Wellen right now. It's a Scandinavian 1-2 with Centurk running in P3. I gotta imagine that Centurk is going to be waiting, and actually I think he may not try and go for a position, as we see some battling here for the final transfer spot. We're following Axel Guzmold, who's currently running in that final transfer spot, P8 in that number 124 car for Delatraz Automotive by Major's Garage. He is really trying to defend that position right now from Adrian Since and run behind. We've got a Pro-Am, and an Am driver all battling for that last transfer spot, so it really shows the competitiveness of this series.
Yeah, and Guzman's had an incredible start to this race. He's up 5 places already and is putting in some decent laps, but he's dropped back from the guys in front of him. So he's got basically Adrianson's got the slipstream, and he's going to have to try and pull away somehow over these next few laps and hope that Adrianson's will not come back at him. That's going to be a good battle for 8th place. We'll keep an eye on that one. But the rest of these are just scraps, as for the first time we're seeing a move for the lead. This is Bergson going up the inside. And Wellin, I must say, on his debut race this season is doing rather well. Got the inside line now. There's a spinner, I believe, in the background. That's Rutten that's gone off. But we'll carry on looking towards this. Bergson not able to get anything done at the moment, and I think his best option is just to wait until we head into Stowe, and I think he's going to do that. Yeah, you can hear him backing out, and he'll just give it a few more corners until he can have another go at the lead spot. I wonder what Senturk is thinking as well. He's only a couple tenths behind, and we'll have the slipstream, so will he try and make it 3 wide, or just let these two battle and try and pick up the scraps where he can? Are we going to have a Leclerc, Hamilton, Perez moment going into the final few corners? We will find out. Here's the replay from Rutten, who I believe just went way too deep into left field. Here we go, the Netherlands driver all by himself, and you can see the car losing it there mid-corner. Just absolutely too late on the brakes, and unfortunately was sent round all by himself and is well out of the fight now, and we'll keep an eye on him in the B final. But no changes at the moment for the lead of the race, and well, this is going to be the second to last lap, so only 2 more laps left for these guys. Only 2 more opportunities to try and pick up as many points as they can.
Now, I have a feeling that Senturk really needs to turn up the whip right now. He's feeling pressure right now from Jordan Johnson running in P4 right behind him. You can see the gap between these two. Barely any air separating them heading on the brakes into turn number 3 there. Ooh, just barely clears them as they go through that short little stretch between turns 3 and 4. But Jordan Johnson right now feeling quite racy. He didn't have the best opening race of the season at Jerez, if we're being honest. He was pinned as a championship favorite, but it didn't really work out for him in Jerez. But right now, he's a camera car. The fight that we're seeing for the front 2 positions right now, that was some very I won't say overly aggressive defending, but it was definitely hard defending in this fight right now between your leader. Ooh, very close to contact. Burgess nearly drifted up and hit his adversary there. They're still battling hard, about to enter Cops here in just a few moments time, going through Woodcut right now, and there's going to be some hard stuff between the two of them. I nearly saw Burgess go for the move here last time by, so we'll see if he tries to do it. He's going to try and go to around the outside heading into Cops. There's going to be some tough stuff here. He's got to have to really be careful of those track limits. He keeps it in the barriers of the racetrack, and now Senturk is sizing up the two of them. He catches up massively there. He's going to back out of it. It's not a very smart call to go side by side, going through Maggotts and Beckett's, but all the front runners are doing it right now. Oh my God, this is some very hard stuff. That was nearly contact between Johnson and Senturk, going through Maggotts, Beckett's, and going through Chapel now. But I think with all that going on, Senturk may be at risk of losing 2 positions here in one shot. He is really feeling the pressure from the drivers right behind, nearly going 4 wide, going down the hanger straightaway. It just shows you how hard all these drivers are racing, and they're still going side by side. Jensen and Senturk are still going side by side, heading through the one of the last corners here of Stowe. Meanwhile, up towards the front now, Bergson is challenging for the lead here, trying to get that lead on the last lap. They're still going side by side, about to enter the start-finish straightaway here. Ooh, the Senturk ran a little bit wide there. He's lost down some time, but as you can see now, Bergson's still trying to go side by side, still trying to battle for the lead. We are on the last lap now, folks, so there's going to be 1 lap to go here in this first heat race here tonight, and still hard stuff. They're going 3 wide, about to enter turn 3 here. Johnson's got to be on the inside. Is he going to try and pull off the move? Very close to contact. He hits the curb. That nearly resulted in disaster for all 3 of those drivers. It has resulted in disaster for Senturk, who's been spun around. I'm not sure what in the world happened to him. I think he had a little bit of help entering that corner, but Senturk has lost out on a lot of position too, nearly lost it again, heading through 5, but Senturk has dropped back like a rock, currently running in P8, but man, that's a tough turn of things for the driver that at one point we were thinking could win this race.
Yeah, he was rather unfortunate there. Just got caught out in those first few corners at Silverstone, which is so easy to make contact if you're not careful. But on that previous lap, going through Maggotts and Beckett's, I think that's the closest I've ever seen someone get on iRacing without ever making contact. That was incredible stuff. They were really inch by inch perfect there. And, well, there's only really 1 opportunity left for Wellin to get back into the lead of the race, and that's through Stowe, but he's going to try and pull it off early on, but just chooses to back out of it. Bergson is going to have to defend like a lion through these final few corners, and well, if he defends the inside line, it's going to put him in the best position, and he's going to put himself on the white line. I do not blame him at all. I think any of us would do that, and it's going to make it tough for Wellen to try and get back into the lead. But Bergson, of course, we know how good he can be, and has got the better run through Stowe. Can he keep it knit and tuck? He
Johnson.
can, and that's Johnson. But Bergson also gets out of shape and has to go defensive. This is going to be really close to the line. He's locked up going into the final few corners. Will Wellen be able to get a run? It's going to be a run to the line.
Closing side by side.
Who's going to win this race? Who's going to win this first heat race? It's going to be Bergson. Bergson on the line wins the first heat race. Wellen and Bergson separated by under 100th of a second, and you do not see that too often at Silverstone. And Bergson, well, he defended that well, but only just. And that is a heart-in-mouth moment. And by the way, Senturk finished in 9th place, and that damage on that last lap really did hinder him. So he's going to be one of our main competitors in the B final, and will make it difficult for everyone else. But I mean, surely we've got to get a replay of what happened to Senturk. I didn't really see him. We were too focused on the battle for the lead, and I think it was just a car on the inside. It was a slight bit of netcode. Yeah. Netcode again. He got the damage from netcode and the initial contact from netcode. So, wow, that's an absolutely incredible first race.
Oh, absolutely awesome. What a fantastic way to start off our night. Tough start for Senturk there. He's going to be bumped down to the B main, so that's going to be a real good storyline heading into that race there. But we're going to get the starting grid now for the second heat race of tonight, and it's going to be Heldorn starting this race from the pole. Archie Heron there in P2. Another Finn Kamula, I apologize if I absolutely killed that pronunciation, which I very much did. Arik in P number 4, Spetskins in 5th, Poon in 6th, McFarquhar in P7, Larson in P8, Van Dalen in P number 9, and then Minot rounding out your top 10 here in this second heat race. We can quickly go through the rest of the field, and now we got to switch our attention to the start of the race, which has already come. The drivers are going to be heading their way into turn 1. A very good start there from your pole sitter in the number 281 car. He is going to be taking the jump very early on, leading into turn 1. The Pro-Am driver is. Meanwhile, we've got some drivers going side by side farther throughout the field. Some 3-wide action there heading through turn 2. A lot of these drivers in the second heat race feeling very bold, as is. Ooh, we have a spin there farther in the back, but I think we have a challenge for the lead here. I'm not sure who that is. Currently running in P3, but it was a very bold move heading into turn 3. I was expecting there to be some sort of massive disaster between the drivers running at the front, but ooh, we can see some very hard racing. They're going 2x2 side by side. Now they're going 3 wide, about to enter turn 6 here. This is going to be very close heading into Brooklyn's 3 wide for the lead here. Ooh, it was nearly 4 wide, I actually think, heading in to that corner. Ooh, very much a beautiful drift there from car number 9. They're still going side by side, 3 wide there. That doesn't work into a corner like that, but they managed to go through there incident free. But I gotta imagine one of those cars was very close to flipping another on its lid. But right now, all these drivers racing incredibly hard right now. I think as much as we had to pay attention to the battle for the lead in that second heat race, I think the attention that we have to have here in this race is going to be for that final transfer spot. We're riding on board with Heldorn, who's seeing drivers go 3 wide right in front of him, heading into Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel here. There's going to be very tense stuff. Drivers slowing all throughout this field. It's been a very tough start there for Heldorn, who is trying to challenge for the lead at the very start, but sadly for him, he's actually dropped back like a rock. But as I just said before we entered the Maggots and Beckett section there, I think the battle for that final transfer spot is going to be really vital in this race.
Wow, I mean, this is intense racing for that first lap, and it's like the opposite of last race. We had pretty much none on that first lap and then everything at the end. Well, let's hope this continues all the way to the end. It's absolutely amazing stuff. And I don't know what it is. Oh, that's a send and a half. Kamala absolutely sending it into the last corner. And to be fair to him, he's got it stopped and into the lead of the race. So fair enough. Archie must have been absolutely bricking it, seeing that come in his rearview mirror. But good awareness from the Brit, and he's got McFarquhar as well just behind him. This looks like it's going to be between the top 3, and well, hopefully everyone else can get involved to make it even better. But Kamala, hats off, that was a fantastic move. This is Ambulard up the inside for P11, about to just get it stopped, and just within the white lines, but that's going to be a poor exit for him, and Spence is going to try and get that one back, and he's got De La Grade a few inches behind him as well. I think that was Auric who just went round. Oh, there's so much going on up and down the grid. I think Auric just lost him by itself, but wow, yeah, amazing first lap, but unlucky for Auric. Oh, just, yeah, got distracted by the car in front.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of target fixation there for him. Sadly, it cost him a lot of time. He is going to be on the back foot throughout this race, and it's probably going to be sent down to the B main. But right now, Kumula in the lead of this race. I already put Kumala, there we go. I can finally spit that name out there. He is a newcomer to this series as well. Ran in season 2, and he is a pretty decent driver. Very high rating, 4.2 KI rating, I believe. So he is a very quick driver, and he's proving that once again, as his fellow Finn did during the first heat race here tonight. He's currently leading, but has a 2 not a very big gap between himself and Heron there in P2. So he's got to really pay attention to that gap. I think he may he may suffer the same fate that the fellow Finn did during the first heat race, where he was leading throughout a vast majority of it, then come 2 laps to go, he just dropped back like a rock. So he's gonna have to keep his fingers crossed and really try and do something different than his adversaries there. Maybe slip back into P2, be in that slipstream towards the later stages of this race and try and do that. Meanwhile, we're seeing some battling here towards the tail end of your transfer spots here. That's Larson trying to get a move done there on Heldern, who made a massive mistake, and there's contact. Oh my god, our first flip of the season there. That completely got blocked out by my microphone there, but we're gonna have to take a look at a replay, because what in the world happened there? We're following the drivers farther up the road. This is McFarquhar that we were following. I believe the driver made kind of, oh yep, there you go. Oh yep, that's I can't play taps. I don't have an instrument that can play taps, because I think taps on a harmonica would sound very bad. But I think that is I think he must have had a slowdown. That is what must have happened as he flips wildly through the gravel and into the catch fence. Was that a slowdown there, Aaron?
I don't know. At first glance, that looked... I think we're going to have to look at it just one more time, because to me, that didn't look like a slowdown. That looked like he was brake checking him. I mean, I'm not going to throw assumptions around, because that would be naughty, but let's have one more look at it.
Before then.
Yeah,
I think he is.
I don't know.
Ooh.
I mean,
yeah, I think there might have been a slowdown there.
If that is a slowdown, that's really poor from McFarquhar. That's not how you serve a slowdown. I mean, either way, if he did brake check him, yeah, that's poor. And if he did serve a slowdown, yeah, that's poor as well. So, yeah, that's either way, it's not ideal from McFarquhar. But whatever happened. Yeah, just not ideal. I think there was a slight bit of contact before then as well, which might have instigated it. I'm not sure, but I'm not throwing assumptions, but just, you know, how it looked from my perspective. But it's unfortunately just bridged a gap between second and third by almost 3 seconds, but we're still going to have some great racing. That's Tom Minot going for the send on Van Dalen. This is for 5th and 6th place. And remember, Tom is he was here last season in F4. We know that he can be a very quick driver. Oh dear, that's Van Dalen on the curbs. And well, those sausage curbs are so deadly if you get on top of them. And well, he's just found that out, and he's all the way down the order now. We're going to take a look at that again. I just think he might have been a bit distracted by trying to get a good exit, and yeah, just over those curbs and absolutely murdered him. And yeah, in these Formula cars, they cannot handle a hit like that. Maybe in a GT, you'd be fine and get away with it, but bonk. Absolutely nothing he could have done there. But yeah, unfortunate for Van Dalen, but he'll fight in the B final. I'm sure of it. And hello, we've got a battle for the lead going on between Kulmala and Heron again. And this is second to last lap as well. So maybe going a bit too ugly early, because the longer a battle goes on, the more likely it's going to end up in tears. So is Archie going to try and go for the move around the outside of Cops? Some would say these are critical corners in this Grand Prix. He just chooses smartly to... this time he chooses to back out of it. And, well, good thing that Kamala isn't Dutch. That's all I'm going to say. But, yeah, Archie's just going to choose to be a little bit passive going through these next few corners, and lost a little bit of time there. Might not be enough to go for a move into Stowe, but definitely is preparing himself for that final lap attack. And this is going to be, once again, a battle for the lead on the last lap. I don't think it will be as intense as the last race, but should be good nonetheless.
Mr. Smith, you nearly started a nuclear war in the live chat here of this YouTube stream. We dare mention that incident that shall not be named with those two drivers, but I mean, we could still see some kind of Formula 4 copy of that here. Ooh, big snap there from your leader, going through probably the trickiest corner of this night so far. Those final corners have caught out plenty of drivers. Turn 16 and 17 with those killer curbs have caught out plenty of drivers. Had nearly caught out your leader there with a massive snap. Going through that section, it's allowed Archie Heron to close that gap. We may see him try and go for a move here on the brakes, heading into 5. Oh my god, that was very close to an accident there. I saw him get the rear end of his car out quite a lot there. They're still going side by side, going through the arena section. He backed Abbott. I think I know why he backed Abbott though, because he's going to be in the slipstream here, going down this first long straightaway of the lap here. We have 1 lap to go, as you said there, Aaron. So this is going to look really good here for Heron. He may try and go for a move here, heading into 6. Oh, I thought he was going to try and go for it around the outside, then he switched to the inside. I think this may be a little bit of mind games playing between the drivers running in P1 and P2 right now, but Heron's still trying to get it done. With all that going on, the drivers farther in the back, the driver running in the last podium spot, which I believe is Larson, is really seeing these two battle hard, and I think he's hoping that the two of them come together, because that'd be a very good race for the Danish driver. But they're still going side by side. They're going to go side by side here, entering Cops. Ooh, dare not have any sort of contact between the two of them. They get through clean, but it's not going to be over yet. Heron trying to go for the switchback there, going, ooh, a lot of contact there between the two of them. I saw the front end of that Formula 4 car pick up in the air a little bit. That's a massive moment at about 120 miles an hour before you enter a very quick section. I gotta wonder, did Heron pick up any sort of damage? If just a minor suspension tweak, that could have cost him, because he lost a little bit of time going through that section, but he's got the slipstream going down the hangar straightaway for one last time. I don't think he's going to be close enough to try and go for a move in the later stages. I gotta wonder if there's some sort of suspension damage in the front end of that Formula 4 car, because he has not been able to catch up in the slightest. Meanwhile, Farling Heldorn currently running in P6, getting a move done here to move up into the top 5. He's had a pretty good race thus far, led very early on, had a great start there from the front row, but up towards the front, that was hard racing from start to finish, and it's going to be Kolmala taking the checkered flag here in the second heat race. The driver of the number 9 car had to fight like hell to get that win, but he does it over Archie Heron there. Ooh, actually, I don't think he was very pleased with his competitor there. I thought I was going to see some brake checking between the two of them, but regardless, very hard racing between the two of them. Meanwhile, it's going to be Elvin Delaguedre, I probably butchered that pronunciation. The driver of the number 286 car finishes this race in P8 to move into that transfer spot. He is a little bit in no man's land, actually. Had a pretty big gap between the cars in front and behind him, so all the drivers have taken the checkered flag in the second heat race, and wow, that lived up to the expectations that we had. That was awesome. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was a little bit sad that we didn't get a battle right until the end. I would have to look at that incident between Heron and Kulmala again, because I don't know if Kulmala fully squeezed him out, but yeah, it's definitely going to need a second look.
We're going to get the starting grid here for the B main here, and it's going to be Centurk on the back foot after a tough Heat 1. He'll be starting this race on the pole. That's Arik in P2, Pogi in P3, Avitsland in P number 4, Tim Runn there in 5th, Spence in 6th, Plastone 7th, Amblard in P8. That's Jay Walsh and Lamy Renning out your top 10. We'll look through the rest of the grid here. It's a stacked field that we have. A lot of these drivers had a very tough race, got involved in some incidents, so I think this is going to be a very hotly contested here B main. I could imagine there's drivers all throughout this field that could take the checkered flag, finish in those top 4 spots that, as I said at the start of the show, are the important ones here in this B main. If they finish in the top 4, they'll be able to punch their ticket into the main show in just a few moments time. We'll just have to wait and see. So the lights are going to be illuminated here in just a few moments time. The drivers are going to be on their way heading into turn 1. Another short run and a fairly good start there from your pole sitter of Centurk. Meanwhile, the drivers are shuffling for position farther behind, some 3 wide action already heading into turn 1. I think these drivers, I said during the Jerez race last time out, these drivers simply do not fear death, and I think that'll come into play here later on in this B main. We're seeing some hard racing here farther in the top, actually just outside the top 5 here, still in the top 10. Hard stuff here. Drivers going side by side. inside, 3 wide, going through turn 4. I'm shocked that I didn't see another car get flipped onto the lid, because turn 4, that is not a corner. It's barely a corner you can go single file through, let alone side by side, or even 3 wide that some of these drivers have tried already in this race. We're only 1 lap in, and we're seeing drivers go 3 wide pretty much through every single corner of this race so far. Ooh, that could have resulted in an absolutely horrific crash there, but thankfully the driver managed to get scraped up. That's contact. Ooh, and a big hop there into the air. Drivers scattering all throughout the field. That's a car off in the back. I believe that was Jay Walsh that hit the curb, spun. Oh, I think we have a massive pileup. I think that's about 6 or 7 cars that have been taken out in incidents in just a 15-second window. So just as I was saying that some of these drivers were keeping it clean, they start to battle really hard and end up in tears.
Yeah, just a couple mistakes there from some of the drivers. It wasn't really like wheel-to-wheel contact, just one of them went a bit too deep, another one lit up their tyres, and it all just Constantinaed, and yeah, they all crashed and died. So, yeah, unfortunate, and that's another one. That's the 144 machine of Ambalard. He's gone round, and I will not be surprised if he holds escape, and yep, goodbye. He is gone and done for the day. And yeah, I can't blame him. Once you spin out in one of these races, it's very, very heart-wrenching, and that was all by himself. Car just lost it completely in the middle of that corner, and not quite up to temp, and yeah, offline a little bit as well, probably put him off, and yeah, just spun the car around. An innocent mistake, we've all done it, and all bit of an incident up front. Senturk has gotten back into the lead of this race. Spencer's gone into the pit lane. I think he has damage. Unfortunate for him, as Senturk you'd think would be the favourite, but Auric is keeping him honest on the opening lap, so maybe we will get a battle for the lead after all, but it's only for 1 grid slot, and as I mentioned all of last Porsche Cup season, it really is not worth it fighting that hard for first place, but Auric seems to disagree with me.
Ooh, that could have resulted in tears. Got very flirtatious there with the curb going through turn 17. Hard stuff there. It allowed Senturk to regain that lead, but you got to give Auric some credit for giving it the old college try there heading into the third to last corner. He may not try and replicate that, because with how sideways he got that Formula 4 going through that section, he will not want to try and repeat that later on throughout this race. We've had a massive rate of attrition thus far. Currently, the top 11 are separated by about 13 seconds. Spence and Advocent, currently running in P12 and P13, are well farther back, so you can really say that in this race there's only 11 drivers that are still in contention. A massive attrition rate so far in this race. I'm sure the drivers that are running in the top 11 have a little bit of damage. Arc, ooh, getting very flirtatious, trying to go side by side, heading into Maggots, but just wasn't close enough there, didn't have a good enough run, exiting Cops to try and even attempt that move, going through the very tough section where we've seen drivers go side by side, even though in these Formula 4s that is a very audacious move if you want to do that. We're taking a look at a replay. This was the lap 1 Shamazel, and it was actually Luen Holt that spun here and created a second jam up of cars, and oh, that is very unfortunate for all those drivers involved. Oh, I'm not sure who that was that slipped through, just threaded the needle in the middle of the 3 parked cars there, going through Luffield for the first time by. But wow, very dramatic race thus far, and it's definitely not over. We're only 4 minutes into this 14-minute race, and there's still so much left to be decided.
I feel like for this battle for the lead, it realistically, it should calm down, because, I mean, there's so much you're risking, that you're risking for first and second place. And like I said, it's just 2 grid slots for that final race, whereas 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th, I can understand this battle as they're fighting for the last few positions to get into that final. So you can kind of understand it there as Rutten and McFarquhar go side by side. McFarquhar does seem to have good pace today, but of course got caught up in that incident in Heat 2 and sent, I can't remember who it was that he just sent tumbling over and over and over. But yeah, he was the catalyst in that incident. And well, this time, hopefully he can keep it clean and get himself into that A final, which he definitely has the pace for.
No.
But that will not help him out at all. That's contact there.
Ooh.
And yeah, he is not going to be happy with Rutten at all. And I'm not sure if that's him in voice chat. Of course, you guys have it muted, but there was a little bit of profanity by McFarquhar used there. So he's definitely driving a little bit hot-headed there. I can't say that this was his fault. I don't really think Rutten... I don't think Rutten... I don't know. I'm let's ride on board with Rutten here and I could be completely wrong, and yeah,
Ooh, overshot it, yeah.
didn't really deserve the space there. You've got to put the blame there on the Dutch driver, and yeah, you can understand why McFarquhar would be upset with him, but yeah, it's just not the way you want to see a battle end. And well, that's pretty much all the important battles over with. I mean, there's still a bit of a gap between Plastow and Gordon, but unless those two close down on each other, the rest are just scraps, unfortunately. And a lot of drivers, like you said, Ron, in the pits, out of the race, or just picked up damage. So lots of chaos in today's racing, and I can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah, lots of drivers taking overly ambitious risks throughout the start of this race. I mean, we haven't even hit the halfway mark of this, and we've already seen so many drivers spun around in a barrier, crashing into each other, and it's just, it shows the level of competitiveness and it shows the level of raciness that all of these drivers have. As I said at the start of this broadcast, they're fighting for some prizes, but they're also fighting for pride as well. They're fighting for prizes and pride here, and they want to show that, hey, I'm a good sim racer, I can battle with all these drivers, especially in some of the Pro-Am categories. I think that could be the reason why ARA is not going to let up this fight here with Centurk, even though it's in the B main, it's not the main show. Centurk, I think, he's a pro driver. He's going to be the one managing the risk and knowing when to push and when not to. Then ARA behind the Pro-Am driver, he's going to be like, hey, I want to go out for all-out glory, and I want to beat the pro driver in the B main. That would be a great show for me to say, hey, look, guess what I did here in this race. I think I don't think that battle is going to cool off. This battle is actually heated up quite a lot for the final transfer spots. We're following Plasto's move down out of that position. That P4 spot is a bump spot, and it's currently occupied by Gordon there. He's trying to go for a move here on Pogi. Pogi, I don't have a good feeling about it. I think he's going to be at risk of losing out on this transfer into the A main. He has been just kind of running in his own island all throughout this race, had a pretty big gap to that P4 and P5 fight last lap by, but thanks to that enormous slipstream that these Formula 4 cars have, he's now being challenged by Gordon heading in to one of the last corners here, heading into Stowe. Ooh, is he going to get the move done here? I think Gordon is going to be able to clear him. I think Pogi is now at risk of losing a position here to Plastow. It's going to be a battle of the last late breakers here, heading in to turn number 16. Ooh, Plastow going to try and stick it around the outside. A little bit of a lockup there from Gordon. Actually clipped the curb there. Luckily, he didn't hit it too hard. Otherwise, he would have been in a massive amount of trouble. I think he may be in some trouble here. Ran very wide. I think he may have a slowdown, so I think we're going to see that gap between Plastow and Pogi and Gordon slash here in a few moments' time as he tries and serves that slowdown in a pretty flat-out section of the circuit. Actually, I say that he hasn't lost down too much time, so I think maybe he's serving that just very smartly, or he didn't actually pick up a slowdown. That's very surprising considering how militant Silverstone usually is when it comes to those slowdown penalties. So Lewis Gordon currently in that final podium position, Pogi in that final transfer spot, and Plastow actually in the dirt exiting turn 4.
I was going to say, I've done the exact same thing and I've gotten a slowdown for it. That's absolute BS. How has he not gotten a slowdown from that? That's not fair.
I need to buy a lottery ticket after this.
I lost a podium because of that. Oh, for God's sake. That's not fair. Okay, whatever, but he's gotten away with it, the sly little... Yeah, I'm not very happy about that, but I don't know how he's gotten away with that, but fair enough. He's still on the podium, and yeah, Plastow, unfortunately, just doesn't seem to match the pace of these guys, and yeah, I think it's probably going to end the way it is right now. Maybe Poggy and Gordon might battle, but I highly doubt it. I think Gordon's got some good pace, and yeah, you can see he's already started to pull away from the Frenchman, so we'll just wait and see. And yeah, 14 places, and well, I've said that, Poggy has now lost a place to Plastow, which is actually quite interesting. I think he's picked up a slowdown, and well, there is a slowdown he's picked up. He picks up a slowdown for that, but yeah, Lewis did not. That's just unfair. But Poggy, they're losing a lot of time, and Plastow back up into 4th place.
It tastes a little bit of salt there, Aaron, I'm being brutally honest. But anyways, moving away from that egregious, interesting interpretation of track limits last time by, we're having a look at Poggi going through Maggots and Beckett's, and this is where he picked up the slowdown here. I think, ran a little bit wide coming through here, went through the grass there. Ooh, this could have been very close. Could have resulted in contact there. Feet really separated that from just being a small little off-track excursion that cost Poggi a very important position, and there being a massive accident. But with all that going on, the gaps have actually increased quite a lot. Gordon has really pulled away as a 2.3 second gap to Plastow in P4. Poggi, meanwhile, is about a second, a little more than a second behind Plastow right now. So I think that battle is really cooled off. I think our attention may be on what happens with Spetskins, Lemmy, and McFarquhar. Right behind McFarquhar, I think, he's a man on a mission for sure. I don't think he's going to be able to make up the positions and bump his way into the A main here, doubly so considering we have about 2 laps to go of this race. But I think if he manages to claw his way up into the top 5, I think that'd be a small little bit of a consolation for him. He's putting together a pretty good recovery drive. Of course, we saw that moment where he was a little bit ticked off, you could say, with his competitor, and I nearly said a word that I think is a synonym for being drunk in the UK, but he's not a very happy Brit there behind the wheel of the number 287 car. Said some expletives over the in-race chat. Even though he has a green halo on his race car, he is seeing red right now, and he may try and size up a move on his pro competitors, Lammy and Spetskins, right ahead. I think Lammy is a little bit of a sitting duck in this fight, acting as the meat in that sandwich, so I think McFarquhar may size up a move here in just a few moments time. But if these 3 start to battle hard, I think it'll really ruin their chances of catching up to Plastow and Poggi, which has actually decreased there about 7/10, actually 6/10 of a second now. But as you can see now, McFarquhar trying to move up on that spot there on Lammy. They're going side by side, going down the hanger straight away, entering Stowe, and he manages to clear him before they even dab on the brakes heading into that corner. So McFarquhar moving up a little spot for now. I think ran a little bit wide there. He may try and lose that position again. Actually held off for now. We may see that change between now and the finish. We are on the last lap of the race. It's looking pretty good for Centurk. He has a 4/10 of a second gap between himself and ARA, so it's looking good. I think our main attention is on the battles that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, even though getting a P7 result or a P6 result is pretty impressive. It doesn't really matter in this B mains. We saw a nice drift there from Eric heading through turn 3, so all these drivers, even outside the top 10, are still pushing.
Well, here's one driver that's pushing and maybe pushed just a little bit too hard. That's Chase Small, who's just been absolutely barged off the track, and that's broken suspension for him. Unfortunate, and I don't really know what happened there, to be honest. I'd like to get an onboard shot with one of them to see what was actually going on, because yeah, I think Chase, I think he was entitled to a little bit more room than Jay Walsh was giving him. Let's take a look, and yeah, that's...
Walsh just took a very shallow line. That's what happened. Yeah. He took a very shallow line heading into 2 and really had no choice but to drift out, and I think that's what cost him badly. Unfortunate for Small, he was running outside the top 10, so his night probably wasn't going to continue on for only a few moments. He was just going to take the checkered flag here in this heat race and then kind of be done with it, so very tough for his race to end that way. A lot of drivers running farther in the back, a lot of wounded Formula 4 cars in this race right now. We see Small in the pits right now, but our attention is now on Centurk, who's probably the only car in this entire field that actually has like no scrapes to report. Him and Eric, I think, got very close, nearly made contact heading through Meggett and Beckett's earlier on in this race, but that battle has cooled off. It's still going to be a pretty impressive result for Eric, who's going to definitely move up into the A main, but our attention is on Salim Centuric, who's going to move his way around the final quarter and take the checkered flag here to win the B main. The number 166 driver punching his ticket into the A main. You can see some lap traffic farther up the road, which maybe could play a role in the A main that we have here in a few moments time. Meanwhile, looking farther in the back is going to be Lewis Gordon and Tom Plastow, rounding out the drivers that are going to convert their way out of the B main and move into the A main race. So very hard battling that was between all those drivers. Poggi misses out. McFarquhar, who moves up into P6, misses out after that incident that he had earlier on in the race. But dramatic, I think that's probably the most dramatic race, definitely the most incident-packed race that we've had so far tonight. What do you think, Aaron?
I don't know. I wouldn't say most incident-packed. I mean, it was fantastic, as all of these races are, but I mean, I was going to say they've all been incident packs, so it's kind of difficult to judge. But yeah,
First time we saw some pileups.
Yeah.
First time we've seen some pileups tonight, so we actually saw 2 of them. So maybe that could be the reason why my judgment's a little bit swayed.
Yeah, probably. And well, if we see another one in the A final, it's gonna be massive. There will be many cars involved, probably the whole field. If that happens, I'm crying with laughter. But let's hope we can all keep it clean. And well, I honestly don't know who's going to be able to win this, as again the slipstream is so effective, and it's just, yeah, you don't know who's going to crash into one another in this series, because it can just happen. Like these cars are so you can be so precise with them, but then one tiny little thing and you maybe understeer into the guy next to you and it's over. So yeah, it's impossible to predict a series like this, and I think I said this last week, that's what makes it so great.
I mean, this season has been awesome thus far. We've had 2 great races thus far, and the action does not end after tonight's race. As I said, 2 races in, we have 8 to go after this, and we have some fantastic tracks that we'll be visiting between now and the end of the season in a couple of months' time. But we are in a quick little warm-up here, so we can take a little bit of a break from just the balls-to-the-wall racing action that we've had so far tonight. It's been dramatic thus far. Oh, this may be a little bit of actually, I'll save that question until after we see this A main. I think so far it's been tough picking between Jerez and Silverstone, so we'll wait and give our final judgment after this A main that's coming up in just a few moments time. So we are in the warm-up session, as I said, not or basically nowhere in the warm-up, so I don't believe any cars are on track currently. So we're just kind of looking around this track and kind of collecting our memory, collecting our thoughts on the action that we've seen thus far. This is a loaded question for you, Aaron. What's been the best race thus far? The heat race number 1, heat race number 2, or the B main?
I'd probably go with the first race, to be honest, purely because of the finish. It was just like, oh my god, what's going on? Heat 2 was... I just think races that have a good ending always are the best, if you know what I mean. Because, I mean, like, you had the B final and Heat 2, which were good, but then the endings were a little bit not as entertaining. But the first heat was like, oh my god, they're literally side by side over the line at Silverstone, which never happens. So yeah, I definitely think races that end well are just absolutely amazing and stick in the minds of men. For some reason I slipped into Napoleon there. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but just real quick, could you do that? Oh my god, again, that sounds like a British version of the Mean Girls. Don't know what that would be. That spinoff would be called Unpleasant Chats. Could you do that like accent that you did with the oh my god again? That was impressive.
Honestly, I've completely forgotten what I did. You know when you just do something in the moment and it just happens.
Yeah, we'll keep that as a one-off. We will not bring shame upon that very high pitch, that very high note that you hit there, and that oh my god. But honestly, I can't. Yeah, I can't really blame you for being excited about that, because that was basically my reaction to that. I was screeching like an irate cat seeing those drivers go side by side coming through the final corner, which isn't something I was expecting, because that final corner is a little bit of a pain in the butt, if I'm being honest, especially with that massive inside curb there. Just a small little clip of that curb, 1 little centimeter that you hit that curb, and it'll just send both of the drivers spinning off the road. But maybe we could see something like that, as you said, that I guess it was a Hamilton, Leclerc, and Perez moment that we had here at the British Grand Prix back in 2022. Maybe we'll see that at the end of this race. I gotta imagine it's going to be a real tough battle, but this is another very loaded question. A lot of loaded questions here in this series, but who do you fancy your chances with taking the win here in this A main, or do you think it's just way too much of a tough contest to try and pick who's going to win?
I think Bergson's going to be difficult to beat, but yeah, you've got like half the grid who could win this. Genuinely, they're all just as quick as one another.
Honestly, I have my bets on Wellen. I should call him Whelan to call him Wheelman Wellen because he will be starting this race in third and showed a lot of pace in that first heat race. We're getting the grid now. It's Bergson, your reigning champion, starting from the pole. Kumala there in second, Wellen in P3, Archie Heron there in fourth, Jordan Johnson in fifth, Lorton in sixth, Harvey Jones there in P7, and that's going to be Poon, Adrian Sins, and Heldorn running at your top 10. We'll take a look at the rest of the grid here. You can see the drivers quickly filling up the grid here for this race. Not a whole lot. Actually, we have a little bit of a battle in the AM category, so that's going to be nice to follow here. I nearly said fondle. That would be a very strange word to say. In this race, it's going to be an interesting battle that will fondle throughout this race. I may have to implement that here in some more broadcasts. But we're going to get the start here soon. The lights are going to be on, and the drivers are going to be on their way into turn one. Let's pay attention to the lights. Let's pay attention to the starts. Pretty good start there from your pole sitter Bergson there. He's going to be leading into turn one, unless some of the other competitors at two fins that may go three wide with him into turn one have anything to say about that. We have some action farther in the back. Some drivers already going side by side. Some three wide action there, I think, farther in the back. Heading into turn one. Ooh, that is a massive send there from Wellen in the number 10 car. He has to drift out quite a lot. See some lockups farther in the back. Some drivers going off the road. But Wellen with a massive send is going to take the lead unless Bergensen have something to say about this. Going down that first long straightaway here on the lap. Going into Brooklands here in just a few moments time. They're going side by side. We've got a 2x2 fight here from the front four right now. Hard stuff so far. We're going to see who prevails here heading into Brooklands. It's very tough, very close to contact there in this quick little section. Ooh, Bergson extended a little bit of a gap there. He is on the inside, and he's going to take that lead. So after a really hard-fought battle, it's going to be Welling slotting into P2 after a fantastic start and a really hard challenge. Heading into three, but it's going to be your reigning champion Bergson starting this race in the lead. For now, we can still see a lot between now and by the time these drivers start lap two, because we're not even a half away through this first lap, and it's already been hectic stuff thus far.
Yeah, it's been mostly clean at the top, though, which is always absolutely amazing to see. And like I said, I genuinely feel like half the grid is going to win a race sometime this season. They're all absolutely fantastic drivers. So that's what you want to see in a racing series. And yeah, I don't think today's going to be any different. It could be a different winner today. It could be a new winner today as well. Maybe someone we've not seen before. But at the moment, it's fairly calm. I don't think Bergson really needed to defend there. I don't think that Wellen was going to go for it, but he's going to choose to now as Bergson was pushed offline, and Wellen's going to have the inside line for this next corner. And I think Bergson has just left himself vulnerable. Ooh. And there's a big crash behind. I don't think anyone else is going to get involved. Bergson trying to squeeze his front wing back up the inside, but couldn't have any more space than he was allowed there, and just has to settle for second place. I do think that was a bit of a blunder from Bergson there, going defensive. But here's what happened into Magus and Beckett's, and this is Auric we're looking at the moment. Ooh. Oh dear. Oh, that's Centre he made contact with. And unfortunate, he was the unfortunate man to get spun round there. And, well, that was really unlucky from him. But we're back to live pictures again now. Wellen's still leading the way, again going defensive. It's just going to be inside line after inside line, isn't it? And well, that's the easiest way to defend in a car like this, but it does put you a little bit offline if you can not carry as much speed through the corner as you want for third place as well. Kumala and Jones going side by side as well, and Adrianson has a front row seat to this. And I think Jones is just squeezing ahead. Kumala will need balls of absolute titanium, not even steel, to try and go around the outside at Cops. And I think Bergson was trying to look initially for the lead as well. And smartly, they all back out of it. Not a smart idea through Cops, unless it's the last lap. And they're all playing with track limits a little bit. No, fair enough. You've got the off tracks, use them. Of course, in a league, you don't get affected by safety rating. So just get those off tracks. You'll be fine. And they're all exploiting it. Fair play to them. As on the exit of Beckett's, we go onto the hangar straight, and it's just everyone trying to follow each other, as Bergson has just lost a couple tenths there on the exit and won't be as far in front as he wants. He's going to go for the lead of the race. I think Wellen's got the speed on him, though. He's going to have the inside line into these next few corners. That's very close, but Bergson in second place still. Has someone fallen down the order? I think Jones has made a mistake at some point on the exit there, and they're all side by side through the final few corners, but just still keeping it clean. This is great racing from the top 8.
Wheelman Wellen at the front, putting on a pretty good show right now. He is still holding off any sort of challenge that Burgess tries to throw at him. As I said right before we took the start of this race, as we see, oh my God, I'm not sure who that was. I believe that was Minot that went off the track. I think he took a one-way trip to the barrier. Not sure if there was any sort of contact. We didn't see the hit, but it had to have been tremendous because he was going off the track at a very fast rate. We're getting a quick replay here heading into turn 1. The track limit racing driver, just as you were talking about track limits, I think a little bit of contact. Oh, what in the world happened to him there? Did he get what in the, I'm genuinely confused as to what in the world happened there. I think we'll have to look at another replay, this time riding on board with him. I'll listen very carefully. Let me just shut my mouth real quick. Did he, like, his throttle stuck maybe? He had some kind of hardware failure that led to, did he just decide, you know what, I've had enough of this racing, I'm just gonna end it and then have a beer for the rest of it? That is very strange from Minot there, that was running at the front end of the drivers running in the AM category. So that had to have been some kind of hardware failure, because that was very strange.
I mean, to me, that looked 100% intentional. None of his inputs looked weird or jagged. He genuinely just steered to the left into the wall. I don't know what was going on there. I hope my knot is okay, literally, in the real world. I don't know what's happened. But, yeah, he's out of the race and has not come back on. But anyway, we're going to resume. The battle's going on right now. This is Heldon, who we know is quite... Oh, I was just...
Oh, no!
I was literally about
jinx
to...
of all time.
I didn't even say it, and I jinxed him. I was about to, and he went over, and I think Jones there has picked up really big damage, and he's out of it as well. That's huge suspension damage for him. And I was literally about to say Heldon's been good racing side by side with people, and then yeah, that's one of my worst commentator curses I've literally ever done. So fair enough. Unlucky there for Heldon, and I sincerely apologise for opening my mouth, and I apologise to Jones as well, who was the unfortunate victim in all of that. So yeah, really unlucky for both of them. They were racing really hard wheel to wheel, but this battle for the lead, it's still as you were, and I think Bergson has realised, I may as well just wait. There's not much point going on and on and on and trying to get move after move. I mean, Welland's just going to come back at him, so there's no point making life difficult for himself. But I think the only man who is going to make it even worse for him is Kulmala behind, who, yeah, is definitely going to make it a challenge for Bergson. And yeah, it's two Finns and a Swede, and yeah, it's going to be really tough for Bergson to win this, but we know how good he can be.
I will say one thing about the two Finnish drivers running up towards the front of Kulmala and Welland. The two of them are teammates. Unfortunately, I think there's a small little bit of a graphical error. It just says that they're from Finland, but they are teammates racing in this series. They are just new to the series, joining in a pair. Both of the drivers race for Wave Italy. So I think there may be a little bit of team orders where Kulmala may try and challenge Bergson here a little bit. We may see him go for a move here. Heading into Cops, he is going for a move heading into Cops. We'll see him drift across here. Ooh, very textbook stuff there, but I think he managed to get the move done there. So now it's going to be a Finnish 1-2 at the front, a Scandinavian podium right now. But I think maybe, I mean, fingers crossed we see a teammate battle here towards the end of this race, but I think team orders may play a little bit of a role here in this finish.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking there, and that's why I said that it's going to be difficult for him to win this. And while losing that place has definitely not helped his chances at all. And yeah, it's I mean, maybe we'll see the two Finns going head to head, but I would not be surprised if we saw Welland just run off into the distance and Kulmala just keep him honest. But yeah, we've of course got another 10 minutes to find out what the next chapter of this story is going to unfold. And honestly, genuinely, these races are like turning a book. You genuinely do not know what's going to happen on the next page. One of the main characters could just die at any point during the race, and Adriansen's he's not too far behind. He could get involved. Laritsen as well. Honestly, it could be the top 5 or 6 that can easily win this. And speaking of the top 6, Lewis Gordon up 13 places. He has had a really, really good day, has Lewis Gordon. He's been on a bit of a comeback ever since the start, and fair play to the man. He's doing really well so far. So, yeah, well done to Lewis.
Well, I think while we have a little bit of a lull in the action up towards the front, I think we'll take a look at some replays of some passes that we're more preoccupied looking at the battle for the lead. We'll take a look at some of the passes here. This is, I believe, a pass here with Gordon moving up his way through the field.
I know exactly why you've stopped, and unfortunately, it's happened to me as well.
Oh boy, we'll make the car noises just.
Yeah. But either way, Lewis, like I said before, has just had an absolutely outstanding day. And I mean, I've just realised I might be jinxing him really bad, so I'm going to stop now because I've already jinxed someone today. I don't want to do it again, but he's going well, so let's hope his progress continues up the grid. But unsurprisingly, the battle at the front is just getting a little bit bigger. It's now about 3/10 between the top guys each. So yeah, I think this is unfortunately with 2 guys on the same team up front, it could be more about strategy than anything. It's not going to be proper wheel to wheel, and Bergson's just going to have to look for an opportunity. And I could be wrong. Kulmala might try and go for the lead of the race at some point, as I believe on that lap he actually tried to, and they did end up swapping positions, and Bergson was not able to make the best of it. Initially he did, but I just think Bergson, they're just toying with him. They're trying to get into his head and just say, oh, look at us, we can swap places, but you can't have any. So they're just getting in his head, and it could work. Well, if it does work, absolutely amazing team play from the both. But this is going to be a good end to the race if Bergson does something risky.
I think mind games are playing a massive role in this battle right now, and I got to imagine that's what the Wave Italy drivers are going to have to use to get involved in this fight. I think Bergson, obviously the reigning champion here of the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship, so he is definitely a very quick driver. He has that #1 on his car for a reason, but may try and go for a move here on the inside, heading into Stowe. My apologies here. That's a very bold move. He's gotten involved in that fight, but still not over yet. Ran a little bit wide, and I think he's going to lose that on that position there to Kulmala yet again. So Bergson, as it looked like he was going to be able to take that second place, he loses out yet again, and I think he may be at risk of losing a position there to Adrianson. So I think what Bergson needs to realize is, okay, I can't just stick my head into this fight. I need to slam the door shut on them. I need to completely just send my way in there, even if it's a kamikaze mission that'll break the 2 of them up, because that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing teamwork. As they say, teamwork makes a dream work. I definitely read that in a fortune cookie at some point in my life. But Bergson needs to realize that with the teammates in front of him, what he needs to do is really just show off there. He needs to slide into the frame and just stick his arms out and gesticulate them like a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man that you'd see in front of an oil change shop. That's what he needs to do, because the mind games are so key in these races, and it's going to be a massive part of this fight.
Most definitely, and I don't think Adriansons is gonna try. I don't think there's anything he can do, to be honest, from 4th. He's just got to wait for an opportunity to slowly sneak his way up those positions. And again, Adriansons is another driver who's had a pretty good day. Started it off a little bit difficult, but he's up 5 places at the moment, and is in the battle for the lead. So fair play to the Belgium. He's going rather well. And Gordon not too far behind as well. He's having a good day as well, as previously mentioned. So yeah, this could be a very interesting end to the race. And obviously we don't have any idea what's going to happen, and neither do you. So make sure you stick around to the end. We've only got about 5 minutes left to go in this race. And you can see there Bergson just slipping back a little bit. And the 2 Wave Italy cars up front are just starting to edge ahead, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got a 1-2 here. I think they're doing absolutely everything right to win this race, and, well, they are doing a damn sight better than I think any of us would have given them credit for.
Yeah, they're putting in a very impressive performance in their debut. Knowing my luck, I probably just pulled off the worst commentator's jinx of my broadcasting career. We'll just see if both of those cars crash into each other, spin off the track, flip multiple times in a fireball. But I think they're putting in a pretty good, very impressive performance right now. We have about 2 laps to go, so the time is running out if we're going to see a challenge here from Burgesson and Adriansons. I think Adriansons is in a good position right now. He's running in P4. He has a pretty big buffer between himself and Lewis Gordon there, about 1.2 seconds separating those two drivers. So I think Adriansons, what he may want to do in this fight is see a possibly desperate move from Burgesson to try and break up the 2 Wave Italy cars in front of him and just slip by all 3 of them and manage to take the win here. We could see that. We could see a whole number of things happen here between now and the finish. It's going to be some awesome stuff here between now and the checkered flag, which is coming in about a lap and a half.
This is just a thing as well, while everything settles down. For some reason, I sweat more as a commentator watching these races than I actually do watching. They actually do racing them. It makes no sense. I don't understand. I don't sweat that much when I race, but then watching these, I'm like, oh god, I need a fan, I need ice, and I don't get it. I don't know if any other commentators do this, but I'm just sitting here like, oh god, what's gonna happen, and I don't understand it. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I don't know. Maybe it just shows how passionate I am.
Yeah, I think I have a very similar thing as well, albeit my computer is literally about 6 inches away from my left leg and produces heat comparable to the Hadron Collider there in Bern, Switzerland. But we're seeing some very hard racing between the 2 teammates right now. Wellen and Kolmala are going side by side, heading into Stowe here. Meanwhile, Bergen, he's seeing this, he's seeing the opportunity slip to try and take the win, so he is really pushing it right now. It's going to be a battle of the last late breakers unless he pulls off a really good move. There's contact, and all 3 of them are off. And just as I said that, Adriansons could take the win here. He slipped by, I think, all 3 of them. It's a pretty big gap between himself and Kolmala right now, but I gotta imagine that Kolmala has some kind of damage on that Formula 4 car. But oh my god, a very dramatic turn of things. We're taking a look at a replay. They're on the final lap of the race, but heading into turn number 16 here, just a small little bit of argy-bargy action there between all of them, and it was the teammates hitting each other as well. Kolmala just rear-ended his teammate there, gave him a small little love tap, and it sent the reigning champion and the leader throughout a vast majority of this race into the gravel trap and well outside of the top 5. We're riding on board with Kolmala under the brakes. Just, oh man, I think he was trying to outbrake Burgesson, but in doing that, he ran into his teammate. Those are going to be some very tense discussions between the 2 Wave Italy drivers there. That's going to be pretty awkward between the 2 of them, but Kolmala has managed to actually pull out in front of all of them. The gap between himself and Adriansons is about 0.3 of a second, actually teetering around 0.4 of a second. But I think right now what is helping him out quite a lot is a driver running in P3, Lewis Gordon. He is now in the podium spot, making his way through the field, cutting it through like a hot knife through butter. But I think right now Lewis Gordon is Kolmala's best friend right now. You can see now up 16 positions. He may make it another 1 position here going into Maggots and Beckett's on this last lap. I think Lewis Gordon is going to be Kolmala's best friend here at the end of this race. We're taking a look at another replay. I think this is Lewis Gordon's perspective going through that field. Just managed to avoid all the chaos, avoid all the BS, if you would, and just going through here, avoided all the drivers spinning off wildly out of control, and he managed to slap through all of them. But I think we need to switch our attention now to the battle up towards the front. There's going to be some hard stuff here. The checkered flag is going to be coming out this time by, and the gap has decreased between Adriansons and Kolmala, but it's not as close as they want. Lewis Gordon is now challenging Adriansons, who closes up a lot, has a little bit of a lockup heading into the 3rd to last corner, but it's going to be the Finn Kolmala driving for Wave Italy in his series debut, taking the checkered flag in the A main race here tonight. A dramatic way for that race to go from start to finish. Unbelievable stuff for the Finn, who takes the win. Adriansons will be finishing this race in P2. Lewis Gordon will be rounding out your podium. And oh my god, Aaron, that was fantastic.
Well, I did say that it would kick off at some point, and I said it was going to be an interesting race, and you're damn sure it was, mate. And wow, I didn't expect that, though. Both Wave Italy cars coming together, that's something I would not have predicted. But I genuinely thought it was going to be Bergson going for an aggressive move, but no, it was just Kolmala misjudging his braking and unfortunately took out 2 of his main rivals, and he will most definitely be getting a time penalty for that. So you can kind of call Adrianson's the winner, I guess. I'd be very surprised if Cormala didn't get a penalty for that, but wow, yeah, as you said, that's a very, very good end to the race, and yeah, a good way to sum up today's racing, really. And wow, yeah, and Lewis Gordon ended up on the podium after being in the B final, which is absolutely incredible. And yeah, really, really well done to Lewis Gordon for that. And what a day of racing it was.
Our congratulations go out to the presumptive winner. Actually, no, I think that's a very good point that you mentioned. We'll have to see if there's some sort of penalty. Sadly, we won't be able to get a penalty call before we wrap up this broadcast in about 10 or 15 minutes time. So right now, we'll just assume that Kumala is going to be your winner. But, man, this is going to be a very tough question. But there's a lot of mentions for who could be our driver of the day from this, because we have Wellen, who, as I said, I described him as a wheelman, and he truly was. I mean, he led a vast majority of that first heat race. He led a vast majority of this A main here as well. He just wasn't there at the finish due to circumstances entirely out of his control to take the win. But I think, man, for the driver making his debut in the series, that is a very impressive performance. Lewis Gordon also put in a very impressive performance, as did Tommy Plastow, who we didn't really talk about, up 11 positions from where he started this race in last, finishes this race in 9th. We have a lot of mentions. I think we'll touch on that after we touch on the results here from a very dramatic A main here from the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship. That's going to be Victor Komala taking the win. We think we could still see a penalty there deciding that, so he will be taking a checkered flag on track. We'll see if there's any sort of penalty call between now and the next race of the season. So he's a presumptive winner from tonight's race. Adrian Sins will be finishing this race in P2. Lewis Gordon making a fantastic recovery to move up into the podium position. Larson is going to be taking the win there in the Pro-Am category. He will be finishing this race in 4th overall. Wellen, you got to feel absolute heartbreak for him and Bergson, who finished this race in 5th and 6th. They had a fantastic race from start to finish, but it just wasn't meant to be for them here in tonight's action. That's going to be Guzmal in P7, Michelson in P8, Plastow in P9, taking the win in the AM category. That's going to be Poon rounding out your top 10. I'll pass this off to you, Aaron.
Wow, I mean, that was just everything we could have asked for, wasn't it? It was, I mean, every heat had just something going for it, and those 2 finals as well was, yeah, it's just really, really good action. Some good racing, some drama. You could probably turn it into a Netflix series with how much entertainment there was throughout the entire thing. But yeah, that's the kind of thing we expect from Formula 4, isn't it? It's just constant, just chaos. Everything is happening all the time. So, but I did not expect that at all between the 2 Wave Italy drivers. So yeah, just absolutely incredible. And well, once again, it doesn't look like we have any interviews. Are we scaring the F4 drivers here? I don't know. What have we done to these guys? I don't know. They just don't like us. I don't know if they're like not aware. They've been here before. I've interviewed some of them last year. I don't know where they've gone. So yeah, I mean, if any of you drivers are watching this, go into the Apex Racing TV Discord and come in the waiting area. We want to talk to some of you.
We don't
Film
bite.
Only. I know, like we're fine. We want to know because these races take up so much mental capacity. We need to know what's happened. So please come and talk to us if you're there. But if not, well, screw you. But yeah.
Oh man, I agree with you there, Aaron. I think it would be absolutely lovely to chat with some of these drivers because there's just so much. I mean, the both of us drive in sim, you, Aaron, at a lot quicker pace than I ever will in the world of iRacing. But the both of us do the sim racing, so we have a rough idea as to what some of these drivers are thinking. But we can't just assume everything. We need to ask some of these drivers some questions. So fingers crossed, next time when the series returns in 1 week's time at Okayama, I believe. I'll take a look at my notes here to fact check myself myself, yes, it will be at Okayama on February 17th. Hopefully we can have some drivers coming in for a chat there, just to kind of talk them through the racing and have them talk us through the racing that we just saw. But looking forward and talking about Okayama, what are your thoughts heading into that race?
Well, admittedly, I've not driven the new Scan yet, so that's something I'm going to do over the next week. But I always liked Okayama. It was a nice, fun track, and of course, it's hosted F1 races in the past, which, to be fair, to this day, I find very surprising considering how small and narrow it is. But fair enough. It's a good track for these types of cars, and it's going to produce a lot more traditional wheel-to-wheel racing rather than the sort of stuff we've seen today where it's more slipstream and trying to keep a gap in front. It will just be sends from 0.3 back into the hairpin, and in turn one as well. The first lap is going to be insane. It's a short run into turn one, but very wide. It's going to be fun, and it should be hopefully just as entertaining as this.
Well, you mentioned there that F1 race at Okayama many, many moons ago, so I'll share a quick little fun fact about Silverstone here, is that IndyCar raced here back in 1978, albeit there's no race footage of that. You just have to guess what I say and go through the Wikipedia article to try to fact check me on that, but it did happen many, many moons ago, and I believe it was actually Al Unser Sr. winning that race. I may have to fact check myself after this broadcast, but before we get into a war over racing fun fact and racing trivia, I think that'll just about do it here from the second round here of the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship. Season 3, actually, I was meant to call it the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship there. I gotta get the nomenclature down right, but I think that just about does it here from this race here in Silverstone. Our congratulations go out to the winners, podium finishers, and maybe we may have a new podium finisher. We'll see how the penalties shake up between now and the next race of the season. Speaking of, you'll see us again here on Apex Racing TV next Saturday on February 17th at Okayama. That's going to be a race that I'm looking forward to, and I think we're going to see a lot of drama from that race at track that doesn't have a whole lot of asphalt runoff. We'll just have to wait and see. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Aaron Smith joining me in the commentary booth, and Josh Wilkie working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you all again in 1 week's time.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.